Hi, my name is Joseph Lemmons. I'm a field agronomist at Pioneer Hybrid. I've been a field agronomist for about 8 years now. Prior to this, I was in plant breeding, spent about 14 years in that. I want to talk to you a little bit today about what it is to be a field agronomist, kind of what we do, our typical day, some of the education that you'll need to take, some of the opportunities you may have going in the future, and any kind of volunteer or follow-up activities you can do going forward. First thing is I really appreciate you guys listening to this. I know it's kind of windy out here today, so it might be a little bit difficult to hear me, so I'll try to talk up, and I'll have my contact information later, or I'll give it to Sarah in case she needs any follow-up information or needs any questions answered. So what does it mean to be a field agronomist? And that's kind of a hard question to answer right off the top because it encompasses so much. But what I really feel about a field agronomist is that we put profit to problems. And what that really means is we work with the growers to become more efficient. We work with the growers to make more money. We work with growers to be sustainable. We want to be responsible to the environment, but we also want to make sure the growers are making enough money and making enough product that we can feed the world. So as a field agronomist, in my typical day, what I generally do is start off in the evenings. And by that I mean I really plan my day the night before. And it really comes down to knowing what you need to get done, knowing who you need to talk to, the different fields you need to be at, and some of the different activities that you need to do at those fields. In that planning piece is when I go through most of what you see here on my left side, is the tools of the trade. And these are a lot of the items that I use. I've got moisture testers for this time of the year. I've got a shovel, I've got a soil probe, I've got a spade. One thing we really like to do a lot with our customers is work with the drones and our iPads to really deliver more information to them to help them be more profitable. So on my typical day, I generally get up fairly early, somewhere around 6:30ish, hop in my pickup, and I go through my list of what I need to get done, starting from A to B, mostly from the farther out towards closer to home. I head out. First thing I do is contact the growers, tell them I'm going to be there, or possibly a rep as I work with a company, and stop at the fields, work with the growers, get their information, really understand what they're going through, what their issues are, and what they need me to help them solve. Because that really is what it comes down to, is solving problems. I'll take my tools here that you see, use them, utilize them, gather all the information I need, and I don't always have an answer for the grower right away. What I like to do is take that back to my office and really go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And it's really all about diagnostics. It's really about going through all the information that you've collected, all the information that they've given us, and going through it and saying, okay, this is the issue that I see, this is how we're going to solve that, and more importantly, this is what we need to do going forward so we make sure that this doesn't happen again. It's a lot about management. The nice thing about that is it gives me an opportunity to see a lot of different things. Most people, when they work in a particular job, they may see one thing at one point in one day, and that just repeats itself all the way through the life cycle. The nice thing about this job, one of the advantages, is I can see a lot of different problems. I get to see a lot of different issues, constantly learning, constantly picking up new information, trying to make the growers more profitable. So what does it take to be successful as a field agronomist? I think that the biggest thing here is you have to be empathetic towards what the farmer is growing through. Realistically, when you look at the climate we're in right now, it's pretty contentious, a lot of trade deals going on, a lot of fluctuating crop prices. So helping that farmer to understand where he can be more profitable and where he can make changes to his operation to be more successful, that's really what it takes. The other thing to be really successful is you have to be open to a lot of new ideas. The environment is constantly changing. We know climate is evolving. We know that companies are evolving. There's been a lot of mergers, a lot of new things coming out as far as chemistries, a lot of new things coming out as far as the digital world. And of course, drones and iPads have really changed the way we do our business. The other thing that needs to be successful is you need to constantly be growing. This isn't really a job where you can get a degree, go out and never have to learn more, never have to do more in your education, never have to do more, because like I said, everything is changing. So you're constantly looking for the most updated information. You're constantly going out there and actually doing trials with your growers to try to gather more information about what you think they need to become more successful. And really that's probably the key things there. As far as the education and training, I think the key things you really need to watch out for or really need to be involved in is your biological sciences. A lot of plant sciences, a lot of biology, physiology. The physical sciences are extremely important. Chemistry, physics, probably being the more primary ones. Mathematics is extremely important, as well as statistics. One thing we do in this position is we look a lot of data. We put a lot of plots out there. Plots get harvested, we take that information back to the office and we run through it. We try to figure out where to better place products. We figure out how to position new things. We do a lot of analysis to say, hey, this is the better product because of X, Y, and Z. So statistics becomes extremely important. The other thing I think that's really important is English. You know, as hard as it is to say, sometimes people don't think about English as being an important piece of the agronomist's role, but I spend a lot of time putting together newsletters. I spend a lot of time putting out written materials, publishing different works of science, as far as journal articles, things like that. So understanding how to put these things together and publish them properly is extremely important. Once you move on from your high school classes into college, you really just build on the foundation that you put together in high school. And once you get into college, it becomes a lot of more crop specific. Instead of just being regular plant science and biology, now we really move into crop production. We really move into crop physiology, really into individual crops, as far as corn production, soybean production, individual classes on range and forage management. That becomes critical as you move forward and you start to specialize into different areas. One thing we didn't hit on a whole lot in high school was a lot of silage, a lot of animal nutrition, but these are important parts of the agronomist's role because you will be working with guys who have silage operations, guys who have feedlots, a lot of guys using alfalfa, putting things together like that. So having a very broad-based knowledge, a very broad knowledge base is extremely important, and you'll pick that up in college. The other thing you're going to pick up more in college is a lot more statistics, a lot more math, a lot more physical sciences, and realistically chemistry, because you just, again, keep building on that base, because you're going to keep seeing this stuff coming around and around and around again. Once you graduate from college, what I did is I went on to get advanced degrees. I got a master's degree from Iowa State, built on that mostly because I wanted to get further into breeding, into statistics, into some of those more particular things, so I could help growers make better decisions as far as product placement, product selection, variety selections. Once you go past that, it is your opportunity, if you wish, to go on to get a PhD, and there you really specialize into what your main goals want to be. Now, of course, a PhD and a master's is not necessary for a field agronomist role, but it's one that I would definitely suggest possibly getting a master's. PhD is optional. In the PhD roles, you'd be really looking at being plant breeding, working with universities and the large institutions, as well as private companies, to do more research to really nail down better products, better placements, and better genetics going forward. But again, those are completely optional. Once you get through your college degrees and you get out in the world and you really start working, one thing you can look into is getting a CCA, which is a Certified Crop Advisor role. You become more specialized. Maybe you want to go into more soils, maybe animal nutrition, maybe something that has more to do with range and forages. So you can really specialize in those areas. And of course, the Soil Science Society of America and the Agronomy Society of America, Plant Sciences, really gives you an opportunity to refine what you're doing and really come down to a very specific role within that area. Again, these are completely optional. There are a lot of field agronomists out there who are independent, who don't necessarily have a CCA, and a lot of them actually do, but it's not something that's necessary to move forward in your role. It's just an opportunity. One thing we definitely suggest, and one thing I do a lot of, is a lot of continuing education. I spend a lot of time with the University of Nebraska. I spend a lot of time over at Iowa State, just continuing to build on that broad base of education, because as we said before, things are constantly changing. The growers are evolving, the chemistries are evolving, genetics are evolving, so we need to be on top of all that all the time, making sure that we have the best information to give to our customers. And the only way to do that is to continue to educate yourself. I would say I'd spend probably 5 to 10 hours a week just going through literature, just going through the scientific articles that have been put out there to really make sure that I have the best information for my clients. Probably one of the biggest advantages to being a field agronomist is I get to spend my entire day out in the environment like this. Now, some people would say that's a disadvantage because it can be cold, it can be wet, it can be muddy, but realistically, being outside all day is a real advantage. I've got a lot of people that I work with, a lot of friends who spend their entire day sitting in a cubicle with fluorescent lights burning all their vitamins off, and they get to look at a window way down the hallway and think about how nice it would be to be outside. I actually get to do it. I actually get to be be outside all day. The other nice thing about being a field agronomist, either in an independent or as a industry person, is that I'm pretty much, not necessarily, but mostly my own boss. I develop my own schedule. I get to put together what I'm going to do today, making sure that I move forward in a positive direction, of course, but I'm really my own boss. There's a lot of individuality that I get to work with. I get to spend most of my days talking to the customers, the people that I really like to interact with. If you're not a people person, I would suggest you probably don't want to be a field agronomist. If you're someone who really likes looking at screens all the time and really analyzing a lot of data, you can still become work in agronomy, but I would say field agronomist probably isn't your best role. You might want to go into the statistics or more of the plant sciences. But if you really like being out in front of the farmers, in front of the growers, solving problems, really being the foot soldier in the battle against in the battle for food production, the field agronomist is probably the best thing you could probably do. Some of the activities that we do, and again, I have a lot of the stuff sitting out here on the tailgate of my truck. We of course have moisture testers. This is what I spend most of my day working with right now, running around, talking to the customers, talking to the growers, and making sure that they fully understand when the best time is for them to go out and harvest that crop, making sure our moistures are correct, making sure that we have the best test weights, really planning the fields, pushing stalks, making sure that the crop isn't going to go down, and making sure the quality is good. I've got a shovel here. I use this throughout the year, digging up roots, looking at plant structure, making sure that we aren't looking at a disease issue or possibly something that could impede the growth and development of that crop. Soil probes, something that a field agronomist always is a soil scientist. We need to be able to look at the fertility of the soil, really get in there, take a look at what nutrients we have, and then make plans and recommendations for fertility either immediately or going forward in the next season. The trowel spade, I use this probably more in the spring. The big one that really has changed the way we do our business now is the drone. The ability to get up on top of the crop canopy, get up into the sky, take a downward look at it. This particular drone here, we're allowed to, or we have the opportunity to put it up in the sky and take a picture downward and look at the crop health. We can look at different aspects of the crop in different spectrums. So really a good way to take a large view of a crop picture or a large view of a field, whereas before we had to walk the entire field. And of course, probably one of the most important things that we look at anymore these days is the iPad. I mean, realistically, this is how my business is done. The ability to have that information at my fingertips at a moment's notice is critically important, and this has really helped us along. When I first started doing field agronomy many years ago, we didn't have tools like this. It was more written materials, more in hand. So this has really helped us develop our trade. And of course, all the little hand tools that I have a little bucket of hand tools over here, things that we use throughout the year. Of course, knives. I've got a little trowel spade, the soil thermometer, and those of you who are in the crop sciences or your family's farm right now, this is probably one of the more important tools that we have, being able to go out there and make sure we're planting in the right conditions at the right time. I've got a soil depth indicator here. We use this quite often in the field to make sure we're planting at the right depth. So a lot of little things go into being a field agronomist, a lot of nice tools and tools of the trade and little things that we utilize. But realistically, using these tools, allows us to make that farmer more productive. And really at the end of the day, like I said at the intro, is we're really trying to turn problems into profits and make farmers more efficient, make sure the return on investment is good, make sure that they're doing everything they're supposed to from a sustainable nature. That's probably pretty much where I'm going to stop here. Again, I'll give Sarah my information so that if she has any questions that come up or you want to get a hold of me, feel free to. If this looks like it's an industry you want to get into, I would highly encourage you to talk to the university or talk to Northeast and see if they have any opportunities for you to volunteer. Certainly, we're actually standing in a field that belongs to one of my representatives, our seed agencies. Try to contact one of them. See if maybe they don't have an opportunity for you to go out and walk some fields. Get a hold of any other CCAs that you know and shadow them for a day to really get an idea of what this field agronomist role is like. Because as I said, it changes on a daily basis and by season. But doing some of those things will give you an opportunity to really understand what this role is about going forward. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop. Again, my information has been given to Sarah, and if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. My name is Joseph Lemmons, Pioneer Hybrid Agronomist, and I will talk to you later.